I don't care what happens. Anybody needs to watch this amazing commercial. So honestly, truthfully, don't ever in life just watch this and think that the medicine's going to help your head, because it's not going to fully do that. Actually, if you pause it, ooh, oh, funny. You're supposed to pause it, and then you can see at the bottom the disclaimer. And with the disclaimer, what ends up happening, right, is it tells you what it really does to you, and it can really fuck you up. Anyway, I want to make this video because I want to say who I wanted to be as a woman and why paper doll houses is so important to me. Because I'm learning how to be a woman every single day. And I mean every single day. I'm learning the balance between loving for myself, loving for others, loving for my kids. My background was so damn messy. The house I grew up in, the painful things I dealt with, the pain that I dealt with, being beat, kicked at, knives pulled out on. I was dragged on the floor one day. I don't even remember what it's for. I think it's because I had a diary. I was probably like, I want to say 14. And they dragged me down the stairs. I remember hitting the back of my head a few times. I thought I was going to die. I was actually okay with it at this point. I hit each step. And they had like this hard tile, right? So I wish I could make the sound of it. But it's crazy, right? So it goes, like it's harder than that. I can't, it's like that glass plating that you hear. I don't even have the sound for it. Whatever. But imagine that. And it's hitting the back of my head. I'm dragged. I'm screaming. No, please don't. And I'm being dragged by my Aunt Gigi and my grandmother Dale. I probably should edit this for all intentional. Yeah, it doesn't even matter at this point. I'm not going to edit it. It's just I grew up like this, and I remember being dragged through the living room. I'm holding onto the couches. I'm screaming no. They're kicking at me. They won't. It's like they're torturing me. And they drag me outside, and I'm screaming. And my leg hits the door, and it's like a gash on my thigh. And then like another bump down from the garage framing to the hard tile of the garage. And I'm screaming. And they drag me to the middle of the garage. There's two cars in there. One on the right side, one on the left side. And there's a stove there, an old stove, because they had to have an old stove for some reason. I never understood why, but they just did. And they took my diary. I think it was just like little silly poems and stuff that I started writing when I was younger. And it's no light. Yeah, you can still see me. So I don't know. But they ended up taking the little poem book, my little emo phase poem book type of thing, and then they put it in the stove. And I was screaming, no, I didn't understand why you guys are doing this, because they thought I was hiding secrets from them. And that was just little pieces of me living at that house, growing up, trying to figure myself out. And the only man in my life that ever taught me how to be a decent woman was my grandfather Theo. And he died when I was 5. But he instilled so much knowledge in me as a kid. It was like I couldn't even I couldn't even tell you. I could tell you everything. I was like a little Matilda. I I had to read books. I had to hide books. Like, it got bad. I could read by light like this dark because I needed that. I was craving the adventures. I needed the escapes, the mental realities. That wasn't my home. That wasn't the place that I lived in. But I did have to hide that. And then video games too. That was my other escape into my own reality. And it was kind of whatever at that point because I was still a teenager, right? Like, this, I'm not thinking about being a woman. I'm gonna be honest with you. No woman. Probably still hear me. So at this point, I wanted to. I wanted to. Earphones died. Anyway, so I wanted to just be a person because I was tired of what I was dealing with at home, and I just wanted secure friends that I could trust to help me with my way. You know, like that with Harry Potter. Huge Harry Potter nerd. I mean, you get it, the closet, broom closet kid. That's me. Yeah, that was my book. But I wanted those lasting friendships, the people that I could trust. And I wanted to believe that outside of my own wicked home, there was people that I could love on and trust and, you know, find peace and solace in. This was my original thought. And so I was like, okay, you know what? If that is what I'm gonna, if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna watch how my family lives because I don't want to do what they do. I want to be completely different from them. I want to raise myself beyond what they've done in their life or the failed parts of them that didn't progress forward. And I wanted I wanted so badly to find myself in the world before I kept thinking about bad things like suicide or taking my own self because I didn't want to lose myself. I didn't feel right. I wanted to learn so much. Like, I didn't have a need for certain things. I just wanted to learn life. I wanted to go live life. I wanted to do things I've never done before because I felt trapped in a cage every single day. And I felt like I couldn't get out and I couldn't breathe. And I was just living to live and I was doing things to get by or to survive. And I read books that would help me survive mentally. Shout out to Janet Fitch because White Oleander really helped me pull through a lot. I lived that little girl's life. Like, I wanted to find myself, and so even when I left them, I finally walked away when I was 21 because I wasn't allowed to go to a party. And I remember sitting in the car, and my grandmother still had a lot of power over me. And I was talking to my kid's dad at that time, and I was explaining that I couldn't go to a party, and it wasn't right because I was almost 22 years old, and I was old enough to make decisions on my own. And my grandmother came up to the window, and she slapped me in the face really hard, in the mouth. And it's an aggression that I'm accustomed to, and it wasn't a loving relationship with a mother. As someone should have a sense of understanding. So I vowed never to be that mom. I wanted to be the mom that had the developed sense of understanding, the love, the understanding, the space, the trying to figure out the mental. So when I was sneaking off to church or sneaking off to college, when I wasn't supposed to be sometimes, I was taking classes to try to begin to get my PhD. And I wanted to do the criminal psychology. And with criminal psychology, I wanted to study the root of a serial killer. What made a serial killer tick? Like, what pushed somebody's button so far that somebody could break somebody so bad to want them to get there? And it wasn't just anything about the serial killer, so calm down. But it was what made a person break so bad beyond their barriers to want to take somebody else's life. Like, what? And I know it got weird for me. I know you guys are like, oh, she's weird. But they had to have gone through something and think about the way that they're feeling, and wanting to feel another person's lifeblood on them. And it wasn't a right thought. So I'm like, okay, I want to study that, which led to the schizophrenia, bipolar, narcissist. Oh my gosh, narcissist. Don't let me bring that up. Not right now. But I wanted to study the biology of the brain. I wanted to get deep into it just so I can understand what makes a person tick. Because here I was living in a house and I was escaping through books, mind you. And I'm watching these people deteriorate around me, and they're treating human beings like trash. And I knew that out there was a sense of love and humbleness. And we had renters who had different stories and situations. And I just remember thinking, okay, these people, they're going to be awesome. And I would go talk to them and they would want me to be their landlord sometime. Not a big deal. And I like the idea of it because I'm thinking, yeah, it's fair. I'll help you out if you help me out. It's a scratch your back, scratch my back mentality. And with all the books and everything that I read, I learned about tribal things and how a village can raise each other, so to speak. And I wanted to live that life with my family. And so I tried to establish it growing up. I did little things. I would try to set little tea parties up, and I would have family game night, and we would pick different dinners and different places to go out and just different events and different stuff like that, because I wanted to establish a family life that I saw outside of my own home. And I remember I would do school sales door to door just so I can go see into different people's homes. And I remember actually going around and getting to know the neighbors that way. And hi, my name is Nasha and I live down the street and I'm your friendly neighborhood Girl Scout, but I don't sell Girl Scout cookies. I give you a little thing and you buy stuff from me. And I would go look in their homes and I would see around the different carpeting and the different textures and the smells. And it's like one house would smell like gingerbread cookies and another house would smell like, cardboard and wood saw and paint. And some would smell like fresh nettles and leaves. And some houses would feel just homey and some could feel really restricted and bonded in, and it would hurt me. And I'm like, no. So I would go seek love in other people's homes because I wanted to see what life looked like in other people's homes. And I had places where I felt like there were homes, but I realized they weren't my own because I didn't want to just drift there. I wanted to see what it was like, and then I would try to pull myself away because I'm like, okay, I want to create that. And I would like, okay, definitely gonna have that in my life when I grow up. And there was a house with like a phone booth on the corner, and I loved that phone booth. It was like the most amazing thing in the world. And there was a few people on that block that raised me to become the person I am today. And one of them was a really amazing woman who helped me out, this little broken kid in my time of need. And she would sit me down, and I wasn't allowed to be in there. So I would be like, okay, I'm going to count my time, how long I'm gone, because I had to do this. So even though I was gone, I wasn't allowed to be gone for so long, and I couldn't go. I used to go explore all the time, but then I wasn't allowed to anymore. So I was restricted to just like the cul-de-sac, and I couldn't escape from there. And I remember she would invite me in, and she would offer me something to drink, and eventually we would sit down and talk. And she would, I don't know, she was one person on the block that raised me. I had another family who I just learned that it was my friend's, her father passed away. And I remember watching that family and their home and everything in it, and I loved, they had their dogs, and it was just like this different environment compared to where I was growing up at. And then I had some other people on the block that raised me in different sections. I just remembered Joni on the street and Tony on the side, and then that was like my little kid phase, and then I had like my rebellious high school phase that was on the block, and everything was kind of interlinked on that block. But even though I was going through pain and crisis at home, I could still hope that there was at least people nearby that I could not depend on, but at least I know that they're there. And it gave me hope that there was a better world outside of my own. And eventually, I did fall in love in college. And then I didn't. And that was a time in my life. But I have 3 beautiful children out of it. 3 amazing, beautiful children out of it. 3 beautiful, beautiful children out of it. And I'm very proud of all 3 of them quite a bit. And but once I escaped from that broken home and I ventured out into the world, I didn't quite get married yet. I actually slept in the back of a friend's car that I had just met at a job interview for the children's place because I needed a job to get on my own. It was my very first one because I wasn't allowed to have one. I wasn't allowed freedom, independence, or anything like that. So trying to build myself as a person and my self-esteem and my self-awareness, that was driving me insane because I wanted to learn how to live in the world, but I wasn't even allowed to do something simple like get a job. And I wanted to build something about me, but I just didn't know what it was. So I lived alone for a while, and I rented a room, and I kind of hopped around my life. And it was a pretty awesome experience because I got to see life, what it was like as a person who had nothing, and can actually make myself push up from nothing. And then eventually I joined with someone else, and then that path ended, and then I had to do it all over again. But even with that, I had the traumas and the stresses of my past life building on me, and especially on my mental. And I couldn't allow that to affect who I was becoming as a woman, because I was no longer becoming a person, but I started to identify myself as this woman that was progressing and getting older, and I'm not getting any younger. I can't go back to 16 and relive it because I have, I've experienced life. So, oh my gosh, I can go back to 16 and here I am again as a 16-year-old. No, I'll be 30 and it's fine. And I'm okay with that because 30 welcomes in a beautiful mind frame. It brings in this, okay, you got to grow up now. What did you learn in 30 years? What did you progress forward in 30 years? What did you see, in 30 years? Like, what did you do? And if you see all the good things that's ever happened to you, you would have looked at yourself and say, damn, I did a good job. I'm getting off topic. The point of this story is that I came from broken environments and toxic situations where I was losing a sense of my self-worth. And I was down spiraling and becoming somebody that I wasn't supposed to be, somebody that I wasn't meant to be. And I didn't want to be this broken individual that hated herself because of her past or even because of her family. I didn't want to be, my family is my everything, so let me go ahead and act like them. I can't be them. I've seen too many dark things there. And I believe that good love exists. I believe that there are real humans out there that have actual the need for intimacy without pain. But I'm also realizing that a lot of that love that I was missing, that whole realizing that the only dad that I have was at 5. So my male figure died away when I was so young. And then growing up with a house full of women, which is a lot of different female opinions on raising a young girl. So you have, this Cinderella effect at home, and I can't even raise myself as a young woman, let alone look at myself as I'm butting into something. Yeah, I was always chunky. I'm still chunky. I'm losing the weight, and I'm pretty proud of it. But at the same time, I also noticed, because I think every girl has, we've noticed something developing, because, we have to have children, and it's a thing. And for, I lived in a home where I wasn't even allowed to look at myself like that. There was high expectations to become somebody I couldn't become. Plus, I lived in a household with somebody that did something for money that shouldn't have been doing and making a living off of that. And I had to grow around it and be exposed to it. And I understand that it's there. And even though it's there, and even though I've seen it happen, I have to, not respect, I don't even know what the word is anymore. I have to respect the household that I came from, because it doesn't even matter that I came from pain and torment. It still made me want to push past it. And I think that's the thing about choice, is you have the ability to choose whether or not you want to be like what you've seen. You can model after what you've seen, or instead you can model after yourself. So you have to begin to look up to yourself and what you want to do. And you don't have to it's not just about you. You can look at other people and be like, you know what? I like that you do that. I really respect that. I'm going to add that to my checklist of things I want to be like. I want to be ambiguous like you. I want to be motivated like you. I want to be strong like you. I want to be, I want to be rich like you. But, I want to have that mind frame, because I don't want to look in the dark anymore. It's not right. I want to see that light. I want to see what the light looks like. I want to see what peace feels like, because I know it's out there. And I felt like I was on pins and needles every single day living at home. And every day I would study something new, because I wanted to keep my mind afloat. So when I felt like I wanted to stop, I kept reminding myself that there was life outside these walls, because I've seen it. I've seen these different people. I know that there's life. I know that there's opportunity for life. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to live life. And instead, I would pick up a book and I would study. And this is not really a campaign to get you to read books, but what I'm saying is that I wanted to give up every single day. From the times I was hit, I was kicked, I was tormented, starved, whatever. I did gain a lot of weight due to stress. And eating. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit up here and just blame, broken thigh. Whatever. It's not. It was me. I chose to do it because it was a comfort. So when I started studying psychology, I realized that we use certain pleasures as comforts, because that's what kind of feels like we're keeping us afloat. So a lot of people, it's sex, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, porn, I don't know, dancing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a release of frustration. But the thing is that